There was a time when Adetutu and Folarin were the kind of couple that made people believe in love again. Their story didn't start in a fairy tale village. It began in Lagos at a tech conference in Victoria Island. Adetutu, a sharp, elegant woman with a mind for finance and a heart for service, was invited to speak about female-led startups. Folarin, an architect-turned-real estate developer, was on a panel about sustainable housing. Their first conversation was accidental, literally. Adetutu spilled coffee on his shirt during the lunch break. He had laughed, not awkwardly, not arrogantly, just gently, like someone who hadn't forgotten how to find humor in small accidents. "Well," he had said, smiling at her flustered apology, "I guess I'll have to remember you now." And he did. That night, she got an email from him thanking her for the conversation. And a week later, flowers arrived at her office, sunflowers, not roses. Bright. A little unexpected. Just like him. From there, it all unfolded effortlessly. Weekend dates that stretched into dawn. Voice notes that made her heart flutter. Long drives, where they shared childhood stories. It wasn't long before they were everywhere together: weddings, art galleries, charity events. They were both doing well, but together, they were magnetic. Their friends joked they were Lagos royalty not just because of their success, but because they made love look effortless. He proposed on a quiet hill overlooking the lagoon. He took her hands in his and said, "I've rehearsed so many ways to ask you this, but none of them feel right, because words can't carry what I feel. All I know is every time I look at you, I see the life I've prayed for. You are the calm to my restlessness, the answer I never knew I was searching for. I don't know the challenges the world will throw at us, but we'll face them together. Adetutu, will you marry me, and let me love you in every season?" They got married in a sunlit garden on the edge of Lekki, under a canopy of white blossoms and golden lush decor and fabric that fluttered in the breeze. The ceremony was simple but full of meaning: soft hymns sung by a small choir, vows whispered like secrets only they could hear. Adetutu wore a fitted ivory satin dress with delicate beading that caught the afternoon light. Folarin couldn't take his eyes off her, not even for a moment. Guests sipped chilled zobo and fresh palm wine while the caterers served steaming jollof rice and grilled fish. Laughter rose above the music, mingling with the scent of roses and suya. When the pastor finally pronounced them husband and wife, Folarin held her face in both hands, kissed her, and whispered, "You're my greatest gift." And in that moment, under the wide Lagos sky, everything felt possible. Their honeymoon was in Zanzibar. And when they returned, they moved into the house Folarin designed for them: modern, warm, filled with light. It was perfect. For a while. They built a beautiful life. Their careers thrived, hers in microfinance, his in property development. They traveled, they hosted dinners, they laughed over silly things. The first year, the questions about children were polite. The second year, they became curious. The third year, they turned into quiet judgment. The pressure came quietly and started small. Folarin's mother, usually pleasant, began visiting more often, bringing odd herbs and prayer partners. She would drop herbal concoctions at the house, telling Adetutu, "Just drink this every morning. It worked for your husband's cousin." At first, Folarin would hold her hand and whisper, "Ignore her, my love." But over time, he stopped defending her. The pressure wore him down too, though he never said it outright. "You're not infertile, Folarin," his mother said one evening in a low voice. "Sometimes, the problem is the woman." Adetutu overheard. She didn't confront him, but something in her began to close. One afternoon, she came home early from work to find Folarin's mother and her pastor in the living room. No phone call, no warning. The pastor stood as she entered, then placed a hand on her shoulder. "Sister, you must confess if you've ever done anything that closed your womb." Her throat tightened. She looked at Folarin, expecting him to speak up. He didn't. He wouldn't even meet her eyes. He just looked down at the rug, pretending to adjust his wristwatch. Later that evening, she sat at the dining table long after everyone left. Folarin came in, poured himself a drink, and walked past her without a word. From then on, something small broke every day. She tried to pull them back to the way they were, suggesting a getaway to Calabar, trying to talk about adoption, asking him to see a counselor with her. But he only shrugged. "You think I'm not tired?" he asked once. "We're both tired," she said. "But we can't just stop." He sighed, picked up his car keys, and left. When they were together, it was worse than fighting. It was polite silence. No laughter. No shared plans. She noticed the distance in everything, how he stopped waiting up for her when she worked late. How he now kept a separate guest room for when I need to think. And then, during a family dinner in December, it happened again. Folarin's aunt leaned across the table, her voice loud enough for everyone. "My dear, have you thought of letting another woman carry the child? Some men have options." The words stung more because they were spoken so casually, like she wasn't even in the room. Adetutu waited. Just one word from Folarin would have eased the humiliation. But he lifted his glass and sipped quietly. That evening, she couldn't bring herself to undress. She sat on the edge of the bed, still in her dress, and asked, "Folarin, do you even see me anymore?" He looked tired. "Please, Adetutu, not tonight." He switched off the light. She lay there, wide awake, her heart heavy in her chest. Days passed. Then weeks. He traveled more, sometimes without telling her. When he returned, he barely spoke. One Friday morning, before dawn, she sat alone in the kitchen with a cup of cold tea. She didn't feel angry anymore. Just finished. She took her scarf and keys, got into the car, and drove away from the estate. She didn't stop until she reached the old hill by the lagoon, the same place he had asked her to be his wife. The grass was taller now. The air smelled of rain. She sat on the same stone where he had knelt, hands folded in her lap. No long prayers came, just a quiet, tired whisper. "God, if there's still something here worth saving, please show me how. I feel empty. I feel lost. But I still believe you can make something beautiful out of what's broken. If there's even the smallest chance for us, please, show me the way." The lagoon shimmered under the early light. The breeze touched her cheek, cool and soft. There was no sudden peace. No voice telling her what to do. But sitting there, alone, she knew she wasn't ready to give up completely. She closed her eyes and let herself remember the love that had once felt so sure.